When my wife told me, "I just want a free weekend without you," she thought I'd beg or compromise. Instead, I gave her exactly what she asked for, by walking away for good and never looking back. Welcome to Reddit Bonds. Let's start the story. My name is Bradley. I am not the type of individual who leaps to premature conclusions. I place my faith in discernible patterns, not in sudden apprehension. This approach has served me well in my professional life and, for a period, within my marriage too. Megan and I had been wed for 6 years. We were the kind of couple people characterized as unwavering. Not overtly demonstrative in affection, but dependably present. We abstained from online displays of our relationship. We felt no necessity for it. We possessed our established routines, our mutual esteem, or so I believed. It was a Thursday evening when I perceived the initial fissure, though I didn't immediately recognize it as such. Megan had indicated she would return home by 8 p.m. I prepared dinner, then waited. 8 o'clock transitioned into 9, then 10. When she finally entered the door at 10:42, she appeared disoriented, not intoxicated, merely unsettled. "Work extended beyond schedule," she stated, casually discarding her heels by the entrance. "New campaign. Everyone's undertaking extended shifts." "You didn't text," I remarked, not with an accusatory tone, but simply stating a fact. She glanced up from unbuckling her bag. "My phone ceased functioning." I nodded. I desired to believe that, so I did. However, the second detail I observed was her wearing a fragrance she hadn't utilized in months, the citrusy one. The very scent she once deemed too youthful and overtly flirtatious for the office. She detected my observation. "I didn't realize I selected that one this morning," she offered. "I didn't press the matter. That is not my disposition." Later that night, while she attended to her dental hygiene, I discreetly checked her phone. It was not depleted. Its battery registered 47%. And I had not observed her charging it at any point since her arrival home. Still, I replaced the device. No tangible proof, merely an unsettling intuition. But that sensation lingered. That marked the genesis. Not an illicit liaison, not a blatant falsehood, but a subtle alteration. And when something shifts within a marital bond, if one is attuned, one inherently knows. I was attuned. The following week, Megan began discussing a new colleague at her workplace, George. "George is from the Los Angeles branch," she mentioned one evening while preparing a salad at the kitchen counter. "He's assisting with the restructuring of the digital division. A remarkably sharp individual." I nodded, taking a sip of water. She continued. "He possesses that distinctive California composure, you know, as if nothing can perturb him. Colleagues here could learn a great deal from him." Her tone was devoid of overt flirtation. It was understated, refined. The kind of inflection one employs when wishing to avoid appearing overly interested, yet one unequivocally is. "George," I reiterated. "Is he your direct superior?" "Not precisely. More akin to a consultant. However, we are collaborating intensely." The words hung in the air. I offered no verbal response. I merely chewed, swallowed, and waited. Later that night, she was reclined on the couch, laughing at content on her phone. I glanced up from my laptop. "What amuses you?" I inquired. She promptly inverted the screen, placing it face down on the cushion. "Oh, nothing. Just a meme. Work-related." I nodded again. "You see, I am not prone to vocal outbursts. I am predisposed to observation and accumulation. I watch, I listen, and I patiently await the emergence of discernible patterns." By the conclusion of that week, she had uttered George's name 6 additional times. Always with an air of nonchalance, always accompanied by that subtle smile. One evening, she returned home late once more. She claimed to have been reviewing presentations with George. She omitted any specifics regarding their location or the reason for the 4-hour duration. I posed no questions, but I noticed her blouse was incorrectly buttoned, a single button misaligned, as if hastily fastened. And the undeniable detail, she was wearing earrings she hadn't donned since our second anniversary, 2 years prior, the pearl pair, which she affectionately referred to as her date night accessories. That's when my thinking shifted from marital sentiment to calculated analysis. Individuals may dissemble. Patterns, however, do not. I required more than mere intuition. I needed incontrovertible evidence. So, I initiated my planning. I did not engage a private investigator. I am not given to such histrionics. But I did commence maintaining a discreet record: dates, times, proffered excuses, attire, and observed patterns. On Monday, Megan announced a strategy dinner with upper management. I cross-referenced her calendar on our shared tablet. No such meeting was listed. On Tuesday, I telephoned her office at 7:15 p.m., ostensibly to check on her. A junior analyst named Ellie answered. I inquired if Megan was still present. "Oh no," Ellie responded. "She departed some time ago. She mentioned having dinner plans." Interesting. That Wednesday, I concluded my workday early, instructing my assistant to reschedule my afternoon appointments. At 5:50 p.m., I parked across the street from Megan's building. I observed her emerge 10 minutes later, clad in a black coat I hadn't seen in years, tight jeans, and lipstick of a darker hue than usual. She appeared striking, too striking for a casual Wednesday. Then a man stepped out behind her. Tall, slender, perhaps overly refined, with a tan suggesting he was not a local. Likely George. He leaned in close as they proceeded towards the corner. She laughed at something he uttered, her hand resting on his arm. I did not follow them. There was no need. I possessed the confirmation I sought. That night, I remained silent. She returned home at midnight, asserting the team had gone for drinks, then relocated to someone's apartment to continue their brainstorming session. I merely nodded, betraying no reaction. "Oh," she added, almost as an afterthought. "You know George. He's probably relocating back to Los Angeles in a few weeks." I regarded her calmly. "Is that so?" She shrugged. "Yes, nothing is definite yet." I retired early that night, avoiding contact with her, abstaining from argument. I simply stared at the ceiling and made a resolute decision. I would not contend for someone who was already mentally departing, but I would control the manner of our conclusion. The following morning, I prepared pancakes. This was an atypical gesture for me. Megan raised an eyebrow upon entering the kitchen. "Pancakes? What's the occasion?" "No occasion," I replied. Simply felt inclined to be considerate to my wife. She smiled, a hint of caution and guilt evident. I perceived it. She likely assumed she was successfully deceiving me, that perhaps I had grown distant, and this was my attempt at reconciliation. Good. Let her retain that illusion. That Friday, I proposed we go out, just the two of us. No mobile devices, no distractions. "We haven't truly conversed in a while," I remarked. Megan assented almost too readily. Guilt often fosters compliance. We proceeded to an establishment in Midtown, not extravagant, merely quiet, dimly lit, conducive to conversation. She looked beautiful. I told her as much. "You look beautiful tonight." She offered a soft smile. "Thank you. You look handsome too." I allowed the initial portion of dinner to proceed normally. Polite exchanges, discussions about work, hypothetical vacations we might take but never would. Then, over dessert, I shifted the tenor of the conversation. "Have you ever contemplated how couples drift apart?" She blinked. "What do you mean?" "I mean, it doesn't occur all at once. Not usually. It's subtle. First the late nights, then the falsehoods, then the hand resting on another's arm." Her spoon froze mid-air. She carefully set it down. "Bradley, what are you implying?" "I'm implying," I leaned in, "I observed you with George Wednesday evening. I was parked across the street. I watched you laugh as if I ceased to exist." Her face paled. "You followed me?" "No, I observed. There's a crucial distinction." She offered no denial. That was the most honest admission she had made in weeks. "Bradley," she began, but I interrupted her. "I am not soliciting explanations. I am posing one question." I met her gaze directly. "Are you in or out?" Her lips parted. No sound, no response. That communicated everything. Megan did not immediately speak. She remained seated, her gaze fixed on her hands. She meticulously rubbed the tip of her thumb as if removing an unseen residue. There was none, merely anxiety. Finally, she looked up. "I didn't sleep with him," she stated. I did not react. I did not inquire further. "It's not like that," she added, too hastily. "Megan," I said calmly, "do not present me with a narrative you can comfortably inhabit. I demand the truth." She leaned back. The composed demeanor she adopted for work was now absent. This was her authentic self, exposed, raw, uncertain. "I had no intention for it to progress," she confessed. "But it did." I began anticipating seeing him, experiencing laughter again, feeling acknowledged. "I never wished to cause you pain. You merely sought something additional on the side," I stated. Her jaw tightened. "That's unfair." "No," I countered. "What's unfair is witnessing your wife gradually fade away, piece by piece, while you feign normalcy." She offered no refutation. Then she articulated the very words that would conclude everything. "I believe I require some space. A weekend. Just time to clarify my thoughts." I tilted my head. "A weekend with him?" She hesitated, then affirmed. "Yes." I absorbed that, devoid of anger, merely still. "I'm not requesting your permission," she added softly. "I'm seeking your understanding. I just need to ascertain if this is something substantial or merely a fleeting whim," I remarked. She flinched. "Bradley, please, just a few days. That's all I'm requesting." I finished my drink, placing the glass down. "You desire 3 days," I said, "to step outside of our marriage and determine if someone else offers a better sensation." "I'm requesting honesty," she whispered. "No," I stated. "You're requesting an exit devoid of guilt." I left the bill on the table and rose. "You may have your weekend, Megan. But when it concludes, do not anticipate finding me here." I did not slam the door upon returning home. I did not pack in a fit of rage. I did not leave a note with some dramatic quotation. That is not my modus operandi. I meticulously packed a suitcase containing my necessities: clothes, passport, laptop, a box holding a few photographs I wasn't yet prepared to discard, not due to lingering affection, but because they reminded me of who I once was before this upheaval. She was not home when I departed. She was likely already with him. By the time she texted, "Can we talk?" I was already across the city, checked into a short-term accommodation I had reserved under a different name, as a precautionary measure. I did not respond. Saturday arrived, then Sunday. Silence. By Monday morning, Megan had dispatched 5 messages and 1 lengthy email. I did not access the email. I felt no need to peruse a detailed account of her confusion. Confusion does not serve as absolution for betrayal. It is merely rebranded self-interest. That afternoon, I briefly returned to the house. She was still absent. I navigated through each room with meticulousness, retrieving a few final items: some shoes, a spare charger, a jacket I genuinely favored. I took the watch she had gifted me on our 2nd anniversary. I left the wedding band behind. I placed a folder on the dining table. Inside were signed divorce papers, awaiting only her signature. Atop the folder, a handwritten note from me, containing a single sentence: "You don't get to test drive other lives and return to mine." No anger, no threats, just a definitive cessation. Then I exited that house for the final time. Later that night, she called. I allowed it to ring, understanding there's a distinction between departing in anger and departing with finality. I was no longer angry. I was simply finished. Weeks elapsed, then months. The divorce proceeded more swiftly than I had anticipated. Megan did not contest it. She did not request any assets. Perhaps she believed I would eventually relent, that once the dust settled, I would miss her. I did not. I relocated to a new apartment across the city. Nothing ostentatious, merely modern and quiet. That was my sole desire: peace. She retained the house. I had no desire for it. Let her possess the furniture, the framed photographs, the perfectly appointed kitchen. Let her inhabit the silence she herself had created. I commenced morning runs, an activity to maintain my mental acuity, and received a promotion at work shortly thereafter. It's remarkable how clarity of focus returns when a significant burden is lifted. Megan contacted me a few times, on my birthday, and with occasional casual check-ins, always politely, never emotionally charged. I kept my replies concise, terse, devoid of warmth. Then one evening, perhaps a year after the divorce was finalized, I received a message from an unfamiliar sender. A woman named Dahlia, who claimed to work with Megan. The subject line read, "I thought you should know what kind of man George really is." I opened the message. Inside was a brief explanation. George had moved on from Megan approximately 6 months after our separation. It turned out she wasn't the only one he had been charming. There were others, younger, newer hires. He quietly transferred back to Los Angeles. Megan did not respond favorably. I did not reply to Dahlia. What purpose would it serve? I already knew the culmination of that narrative. A few weeks later, I unexpectedly encountered Megan at a downtown cafe. She appeared diminished, not physically, but her vibrancy seemed faded. She saw me and offered a faint smile. "Bradley." "Megan." We stood there for a moment too long. She gestured towards the table where she had been sitting alone, a half-full teacup, a paperback face down. "You look well," she stated. "You too," I lied. She hesitated. "Do you ever reflect upon what transpired?" "No," I replied. "I lived it." That was sufficient. And with that, I nodded once and departed. I did not glance back. There was no need. She understood. It has been 3 years since I exited that house. Friends and colleagues occasionally inquire if I would ever consider remarrying. I consistently offer the same response, perhaps, but only if she introduces peace, not tumult. It is not born of fear, it is born of clarity. I am now acutely aware of what I contribute to a relationship. I will not negotiate with someone still deliberating whether my presence is sufficient. I occasionally encounter Megan now and then. We frequent similar social circles. She invariably offers a polite smile, as if we are merely old acquaintances. And I reciprocate that smile. No lingering bitterness, no oppressive burden, simply history. She briefly remarried once. It was short-lived. Rumor has it her new husband traveled extensively. She harbored suspicions, snooped, found confirmation, and he departed without a word, precisely as I had. Karma does not always manifest audibly. Sometimes it is merely a reflection. I have recently begun seeing someone. Her name is Sarah. She is not ostentatious, she does not speak in riddles, nor does she engage in games. We embark on long walks, discuss substantive matters. We share much laughter. I do not feel compelled to pursue her attention. It feels pure. A few weeks ago, I was sifting through old files on my laptop when I discovered the drive containing our photographs. Megan and I, smiling, younger, and foolishly self-assured. I felt no sadness. I felt gratitude, because when an individual demonstrates their willingness to jeopardize everything you have built for something ephemeral, they bestow upon you the most profound gift imaginable, freedom. I do not require vengeance. I do not need her to lament her choices for the remainder of her life. I simply needed to know. And once I knew, I moved forward. That is the crucial detail people often overlook. You do not triumph by remaining and imploring someone to choose you. You triumph by departing when they fail to, and by remaining gone. Thank you for watching.